Friends, Pastor Chuck Blair, great to have you joining me today as we continue off just looking for over this past week, just looking at little bits and pieces around the Christian New Church perspective around evil. And it's interesting because the day and age we live in, it's hard to talk about evil. People tend to not want to talk about it a whole lot. Yeah, it's important, I think, to say, yeah, what is the nature of evil? And I would start with this, which what is the nature of evil? Well, first off, it exists. There is such a thing as evil. People do things that hurt other people. That is very true. Sometimes the way they hurt people is not with forethought. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it's not with malice. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it's in other words, accidental. Sometimes it's on purpose. And I think we've probably all been both on the receiving end and the giving end, sadly, of both of those. And what I want to offer today is just a few thoughts on what's the again nature of evil from a Christian church perspective. And it starts with this: like we are always able to choose, and that's and there are circumstances obviously where we're not, but for the most part, we're always able to choose between good and evil. And that choice between good and evil really comes down to our intentions. Like which intention are we going to listen to the most? Is it an intention that's going to be about service? Is it an intention that's going to be about love? Or is it going to be an intention that is all about kind of this deep self-service, where it's all about me, myself, and I, where it's all about how do I aggrandize myself either in a spiritual level, or how do I aggrandize myself in a material level, where we just are not thinking about other people. So it's interesting, in a sense, the nature of evil is thoughtlessness. And granted, people can have diabolical schemes and all these kinds of things, but really evil at a certain level, it's just thoughtless. It's just is where we and where other people are unable to see the world as someone else does it, are unable to reach out with thoughtfulness into the world. And it just becomes about sort of these schemes that are about self-aggrandizement. So with the nature of evil, I want to read to you what one person said. This person, we've been reading their chart on trying to understand what Christian New Church is about, and this is what this pastor said: devils are not fallen angels, but rather disobedient humans. Satan is not an individual, but a collection of people choosing to lust, hurt, and hate. And that is the way we really do hold it, that there are such a thing as evil spirits. There are such a thing, and in that there are such a thing as people who do evil things in this world. There are such a thing as that connection into hell as well. And it's this idea that this happens because people can make that choice, and they are always free to make that choice. And if they have the opportunity, they will make that choice all the time, and will make that choice to all eternity. And so God enables them to do it, not enable them to act out on it, but enables them to do it because that is what they truly love. It obviously begs the question of the eternity of hell, which lots of people struggle with, and that's another one for us to address at another time, because that is a big topic. But it is significant to point at the areas where, like, oh yeah, there's evil, and be able to say, like, that's evil. And what would be an example? Well, one I was thinking about, and was Adolf Eichmann. And one of my favorite books on understanding the nature of evil is this book. It's titled Eichmann in My Hands. And Adolf Eichmann was the guy who was sort of the bureaucrat who ran the Holocaust. And again, thoughtless, just means sort of the banality of evil, as Hannah Arendt referred to those who perpetrated the Holocaust. Just was banal. It's just kind of like completely thoughtless, even though it was scheming. And so he organized it, and then he was sort of top most wanted list. After World War II, he manages to escape, flees down to Argentina. Israeli Secret Service agents from the Mossad go down. They track him down in 1960. They bring him back to Israel to stand trial, where he stands trial and is eventually executed for his crimes. And it's interesting with him. It's very interesting with him because in this book, Eichmann in My Hands, the man who was the Mossad agent who comes to kidnap him has to spend a week with him in a safe house in Argentina. And literally, they're sitting there having a conversation right across the table over several nights around, how did you do this? Like, how did this occur? And the Mossad agent actually had lost his family in the Holocaust. And this interview with him wasn't really done as an interview, but more just transcribing conversation, was just chilling, because it's not like the guy was a sweaty-toothed madman running around with an axe. He was a complete boring bureaucrat. But this was the nature of evil, and it's where the author makes a profound point about what evil really is. He says, evil, if we can keep the world where we're constantly debating immoral versus moral, we'll probably be in pretty good shape because we'll be able to see it and we'll be able to judge on it. And there's just something in us. And when we see immoral behavior, eventually the moral side of us will win. And Martin Luther King leveraged that a great deal. There was immoral behavior, but he was coming from a higher moral ground and eventually appealed to the better angels of people's nature and changed our country through that. He said, but what doesn't shift, and what he saw with Eichmann, and it was chilling, was he said, evil exists when we succumb to, and listen to this line, amorality by consensus. That's a beautiful line, beautiful line. So what's happens is we're no longer holding, there's moral decisions and there's immoral decisions. How do we constantly, battle this tension out? He said, no, what happens is eventually what happened with Eichmann, and I would agree, is that all of a sudden it was just amoral. Like morality had nothing to do with it. To Eichmann, his only morality was to orders. And those orders came from Adolf Hitler, and Adolf Hitler sort of had this idea of the German Volk, German blood. That was the primary good, was blood, was pure blood. And so that worked its way on down and then washed out all moral considerations. There was no moral considerations. All it was consideration was amorality and based on kind of blood. And you could go into a whole line of historical stuff around that and how the Nazis did a lot of stuff around that in terms of who was Jewish, who wasn't, who was this, who was that, crazy stuff. So I think, folks, there is part, there's part of church that is well served by really staking its claim in the joy, the optimism, the inspiration of life. Really, really important to stake our claim there. And that's our primary goal. That's where we're going. And it's also important some days to kind of go back upstream and to say, yeah, and we also need to say this. There is evil. And when we see it, we need to call it out. We need to say it. We need to point at it. When we need, no matter what, I think, to remember probably the biggest danger is that amorality by consensus. If we stop having the conversation, if we stop having the tension between moral and immoral and which one will win the day, I think that's where danger really lies. And in a culture so based on individual freedom, that's a trick, right? Because none of us want to be a shrew. None of us want to be going around righteously pointing out everyone else's faults. It's about looking at our own. And at the same time, we need to be aware that there is such a thing as evil, and that our responsibility when we see it is to say something and do the best we can to try to remedy that moving forward. So that does create a little, little conscience, little stirring of our conscience to maybe do something and to maybe find those places where we can point it out, we can say something, we can do something, because that really matters a lot in this world. And it's our task that we're given to do by God. It's not everything is okay all the time. I think that's a dangerous way to hold the world. I think we can see evil, we can point it out in ourselves, point it out in other people. And actually that will help us in a way to get to these higher parts of joy, inspiration, all these beautiful parts of the human experience that God is wanting so badly to gift to us. So, friends, I hope that makes sense in terms of the nature of evil. Again, it's based on selfishness, it's based on materialism, and then that all of a sudden manifests itself with power and control. And it's just based on, again, that completely self-serving nature of evil, where it just is not concerned about anything else but itself. So, friends, I hope that makes sense, and I hope somewhere in there you can find a little lesson for life for you for the day that will be helpful. And what we're going to do now is we're going to do a little prayer. We're going to do a little meditation. We're going to do a little hello to folks on social media. And before I do that, just a quick reminder again is tomorrow I fly down to Charleston. Be doing a wedding down there for some online viewers who live in Beaufort. I think it's the right way to say it. Be doing a wedding for them over in Beaufort, and then driving across to Charleston for church on Sunday. Curtis Childs, wonderful message deliverer, will be doing the message from the home church up here in Philadelphia, which will go out online. Mine will just be in person. But if you are in the Charleston vicinity and would like to join me then and there, please, please, please feel free to. You're more than welcome to come. And you can just send me a note to get details. So with that, friends, we're going to move into our meditation here. So the first part, let's all just get a big breath to kind of cleanse the palate, so to speak. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am. Be still and know that I. Be still and know that. Be still and know. Be still and. Be still. Be. Our Father, who art in the heavens, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, as in heaven, so upon the earth. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we also forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you, bring you peace, and bring you home. Amen. All right, friends, let's give a little cheery hello to folks here. And again, I hope everyone has a wonderful weekend coming up. We will actually have 10 Minutes of Morning Calm will be on tomorrow. I've already pre-recorded one, and more than welcome to leave comments. I'll actually be in the air at 8:30, but I will respond to your comments in due time when I land. All right, let's say hi to folks here. Kim, good morning to you, my friend. I hope you're doing well. Bonnie, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Marcus, always good to see you, buddy. Patricia, wonderful to see your heart joining us this morning. Sherry writes, interesting that it's a vicious circle so that thoughtless people are unaware that they are thoughtless because they're so busy being thoughtless. It is kind of interesting, Sherry, right? Like, is this crazy circle? And it's a weird, this is gonna sound weird. It's evil is this weird commitment to thoughtlessness, and it's this weird commitment to having no concept of how what we're doing or saying or acting is impacting other people. And sadly, some people get practiced at that. And I imagine all of us have at least one part in our life where we could probably work on being a little less thoughtless and a little more thoughtful. All right, friends. So let's take a look over here, see if there's anyone else over here we can give a cheery hello to. Linda writes, good morning, and good morning to you, Linda. And Lucy writes, good morning and thank you. And great to have you joining us there, Lucy, as well. And Rob, quick hi to you out there as well. So folks, thank you for joining me this morning. Wishing you all the very best, and join us tomorrow. We're going to be talking about what do relationships look like in the long run in heaven. So take care. Have a great day, friends. Bye-bye.